Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to go for the first time, as far as I can remember, to Öland, which is the big, long, very skinny island off the east coast of Sweden. And for this one we're trying my first ever beer from the Fireside Brewery, and from what I understand this is their first release through Systembolaget here in Sweden. So this one is the Carry the Torch Obsession IPA, which comes in at 6.6% ABV. As I'm sure you'll agree, that's some pretty awesome artwork there. It looks a little bit like the kind of inside of your brain, you know, nerve cells and things like that. Very, very cool, I have to say. So yeah, I hope the beer lives up to the artwork actually. It looks really, really cool. But very much looking forward to this one. An IPA at 6.6% as I mentioned, and I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. Very cool to review my first beer from Öland as far as I can remember also. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from the Fireside Brewery. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, like I said. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about the Fireside Brewery then. So Fireside Brewing are based in Rälla on Öland, and it's just a little bit to the north of the bridge actually where you would cross over into Öland from Kalmar. But this brewery is part of an American kind of barbecue restaurant and brew pub, and it looks very, very nice. If you Google it, some of the pictures there of it are very, very nice actually. It really does look quite authentic and American. But the company is owned by Joel and Johanna Heineke, and they started brewing beer back in 2015. But their first brewery was a very, very small 160 litre brew kit, and they found that the beer actually sold much better than they expected, and it was very, very difficult for them to keep up. Apparently they were selling their beer 5 days, you know, they had the restaurant open 5 days a week during the summer, and then open like very, very regularly during the autumn as well, and they really struggled to keep up to you know, to keep up to speed with the demand for their beer. It sold far better than they thought. But in 2018 they actually started adding local ingredients to their beers as well, such as local honey and strawberries and stuff like this, to create the Öland series of beers. It'd be cool to see some of those released through Systembolaget actually. But over 2019 they plan to expand the brewery further. I think they're hoping to upgrade to a 500 litre brewery if they haven't done that already. I was in one of the articles I read, it said they were, but I think that was back in 2016, it said they were hoping to upgrade that soon. But I'm hearing that they do want to expand the actual capacity of the brewery over 2019, and they've started selling their beers through Systembolaget as well, which is pretty cool. But yeah, another really, really small brewery, and as I always say, I love introducing you guys to these very small and kind of upcoming breweries here in Sweden. It's always a very interesting thing to do. There's somewhere in the region of 400 little craft breweries here now, which is a really quite impressive number when you consider that Sweden is only about 10 million people. You know, Scotland is about 5 million, and I think we're, you know, we have maybe about 100 breweries, so there's a hell of a lot of home brewing and stuff goes on here. But I think one of the reasons that the Nordic countries have so many little craft breweries popping up is because you know, the alcohol laws here are very strict, and there's been a real culture of home brewing developed as a result of that, and the quality of stuff in Sweden, you know, is really, really pretty damn good. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about the Fireside Brewery. Hopefully I can get out to Öland at some point in the next kind of year or so and have a little visit to it. The food menu looked really, really good as well, so yeah, that's definitely something that's on my list for the future. I want to get to Gotland as well and have a little look out there. But yeah, another very small brewery that's popped up. You can check out the link to the brewery website in the description below, and you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and that will keep you up to date with all the latest goings on there. But yeah, let's get on to the tasting of this beer itself then. So as you can see, and as I showed you at the start of the video, some beautiful artwork there. You know, it looks like a kind of hop flower with a network of neurons. It's really pretty cool actually. I love the artwork. I'm still remembering some of my biology terminology. I was a chemist and astrophysicist by trade, you know. I loved that stuff. Spectroscopy IPA was my kind of game. But yeah, lovely artwork on this, so I'll give them a big thumbs up for that. They carry the torch, Obsession IPA. It says on the style here, this one is a West Coast style red IPA brewed with more tropical fruit flavoured hops, Citra, Mosaic and Azacca, giving a savoury taste, distinct aroma and robust bitterness at 66.6 IBUs. Hail Satan. Well, Hail Satan divided by 10, I guess you could say. But yeah, really cool, that one. And you know, I have been saying this on some videos, I've been missing these West Coast IPAs. You know, there's so many New England IPAs going around now. It is nice to actually have a go at a West Coast IPA, and particularly a red IPA. I always used to love the red ales. One of the best red ales I ever tried actually was from the name of the brewery's gone ahead, but it was called First Blood from 8 Wired Brewing Company. That's it, down in New Zealand, and that was an imperial red, and it was absolutely beautiful with those lovely big juicy New Zealand hops. It's a plain bottle cap on this one, incidentally, but let's get on with the tasting of this. I'm very curious to see what this turns out. I always love it when you come across these red IPAs, and there's not too many of these beers actually around now, but you can see nice little bit of smoke on the opening, and we'll get this guy out into the glass. From what I understand, they've used a little bit of rye in the malt base here as well. Should tell you on the side exactly what they've added to it, but yeah, it actually just says corn malt on it. But yeah, it should be a lovely beer, this one, and I'll tell you straight away, as soon as you open this up, you get some absolutely lovely aromas coming out of this. Citra, Mosaic and Azacca, you know, you're going to get a hell of a lot of a nice kind of tangerine orange from it, and you get some nice mangoes from the Citra as well. But look at this. This looks absolutely lovely. If I hold it up to the light, it's actually quite a rich, almost blood orangey amber colour. There's a solid finger of frothy, I would say creamy, very light, almost fawn coloured head of this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. There's a bit of haze to this beer, but obviously, you know, if you hold it up to the light, you can see there is transparency to this one. It's more it's definitely a West Coast haze rather than the sort of hop, soupy kind of stuff that you get with the New England IPAs. But yeah, this looks like an absolutely lovely beer. There's nothing particularly surprising about this one in terms of the appearance when you consider that it's a West Coast style IPA. This one, there's a couple of little bits of sediment just floating around in this one, so you know, will be a bottle conditioned beer. But yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. This, I can tell you, just from opening the beer out and just moving it around a little bit, this one I think is going to be a little bit of a monster. The aroma is absolutely lovely. Oh yeah. Yeah, that smells really nice. So straight away with this beer, I would say that the Azacca and the Mosaic are a little bit more pronounced in this one. You've got a lovely little touch of that. It's a big juicy tangerine orange there. I've always found the Azacca is a little bit more of a mandarin, and there's quite a... The mandarins I always think are a little bit sharper, if you like, but Azacca has a little bit of a kind of pineapple-y complexity to it from what I remember. And almost it can have a little bit of a stone fruity kind of thing too. But yeah, for me there's a lot of tangerine oranges coming out of this one. You've got a little bit of a kind of stone fruity quality in there as well, which is really interesting. You can pick up a little bit of pineapple almost too, but there is an element of red fruit to this which is quite interesting. Yeah, the red fruity qualities to this one is nice. It's almost got a little bit of a kind of red currant, a little bit of a blackberry, candied strawberry kind of note to it. There's definitely red fruits in there as well, but to me there is a nice bit of orange. The interesting thing as well is that with Citra you should get a bit of mango, but there's not too much of that coming out. You can pick up the lychees, which is one of the kind of complexities that you'll get from Citra, of course, and with the Mosaic, of course, you can get a little bit of blueberry, so maybe that's mixing in with the rye and things like that to become a little bit more of an almost blackberry kind of candied strawberry type aroma. But yeah, lots of berry fruits in this one. You know, little touch of blackberry in there, like I said, a sort of candied strawberry, almost a little bit like a red curranty sort of note as well, which is very, very interesting. Maybe even a little bit figgy, but yeah, juicy tangerine oranges, and little touch of pineapple I think as well is just coming out. But the mangoes, which you would normally expect from the Citra, aren't coming out so much in this one. If you take it in quite deeply, you can just detect them a little bit, but yeah, this one to me is definitely more orangey and sort of red fruity, which is kind of interesting. And I mean, it's one of these things, depending on what you mix hops with, right, and what malt base you have, you'll always get different aromas and different flavours out of them. I mean, you can use Citra. I've seen Citra used in stouts and things like that. You see it used in black IPAs. The malts really have a big influence on what type of fruity esters you get out of the beer. But yeah, this one to me, the fruity side of the aroma is very nice. The green side of the hops for me, it's got a little touch of, this beer has a little touch of earthiness to it, but you've got some nice floral and grassy qualities to it as well. I'd say it leans a little bit more towards the floral side of things rather than the grassiness. But although the grassiness is there, but the earthiness, you can smell the rye, a little bit of an almost kind of rye-ish cereal quality coming out of this one, and that builds a good bridge between the earthiness. Could perhaps be that rye quality that the beer has is making it seem a little bit more earthy. But yeah, underneath that as well, you can smell there's a nice little bit of caramel. It has got a sweeter edge to it, the caramel, and it's just very, very slightly toasty. There's definitely a little bit of a biscuity malt, reminding me of these sort of McVitie's digestives as well. But yeah, this beer is really quite nice smelling. I like the way the fruits are coming out of it. I like the malt base has that sweetness that you expect. And I've not, I'm getting quite excited about this one because I haven't tried a red IPA in a hell of a long time. And it's actually, as far as I can remember, out of all the Swedish beers that I've tried, I have tried a few red ales and things, but I don't think I've actually tried a Swedish red IPA now that I come to think of it. I think the closest thing that I probably would have tried would be the American Red from Stallhagen on the Öland Islands. So yeah, I'm curious to see how this beer turns out. So yeah, let's take, as I always say, take a little bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck in. But we're going to try this one now. So this one is the Carrier of the Torch and Obsession IPA at 6.66% from the Fireside Brewery in Rälla on Öland here in Sweden. Let's get stuck into this one. Slanja skål. Yeah, that's a pretty solid beer, I have to say. It is nice actually. The red IPAs, and this one I would say this is more along the lines of a red rye IPA. The closest beer I can think that I've had to this one actually would be the Albino Squid Assassin from Brewdog. I know that beer has been to Sweden through Systembolaget as well. I think I actually tried that in bottle in Scotland for the first time, if I'm remembering correctly, when I was home one time. But yeah, that's what this beer actually reminds me of, which is really interesting. The way the malt base comes out in this one, it has a good little bit of prominence, and as I said, this is one of the big things I've been missing about the West Coast IPAs. This one has a good bit of bitterness to it, and I've missed that kind of hoppy kick with all the New England IPAs that are going around. I keep saying that in these videos, but I do like the New England IPAs, but you do miss having a bit of diversity in there, to be honest. But yeah, that's a good beer. I like this one. This beer, it's one of these ones, I think, that's it's not quite the same as a regular West Coast IPA, but I can sort of say with a bit of safety here, if they can produce this sort of red rye IPA, if you like, I'm sure they'll do like a regular straight up American IPA pretty damn well. This is a beer, this particular style I think is one that's not as popular, and I can tell straight away from this one, and I would say that in my experience of the style, this one's really quite well done. So I'd love to try, either a New England IPA from these guys or a straight up West Coast IPA. I'd be very curious to see how they do with that. Mainly for the fact that this beer is a little bit more specialised, if you like. It's a little bit more kind of random, but this, within the style category, I think is really pretty damn nice, so it gets a thumbs up from me. But let's try and just break this down a little bit and describe the flavours a bit better. But I'll tell you, this is a brewery I want to keep an eye on. And that's quite difficult these days. There's so many breweries in Sweden that are doing good stuff. And you know, keep your recommendations coming. This is one that I just stumbled across on Seastemble. Do let me know some other Öland brewery reviews that I should, or breweries that I should review on the channel for you here, because this is good. This is seriously pretty good. So, middle of your palate then with this beer, you've got that nice sort of, you can feel the pale malty quality just kind of blanket in the middle of your palate there. The sort of rye-ish, kind of brown, bready notes to this one are very, very nice as well. The beer gets a little bit more spicy the further into the aftertaste that you go. And if you come further forward on the palate, I think there's a little tiny touch of a woody quality to this beer as well. Yeah, this one, in the middle of your palate, the sweeter side of the beer is coming out. You can feel that there's just this slightly more oily part in the middle of your palate. It's the sweeter caramel that you can pick up in the aroma is kind of sitting there, and it is actually, it's a little touch of a toasty note to it, which is nice. It actually suits it because it gives you a bit more of a bridge between the kind of the graininess of this beer. But when you move further out from the very centre of your palate, it becomes a little bit more kind of biscuity. It really reminds me of these McVitie's digestives that you get. There's a lot of these, I think, you know, it must be, you do get specialist biscuit malt and things like that, but a lot of these flavours that you get in IPAs really remind me of McVitie's digestives. I think that's always a good descriptor for these different beers. But yeah, the malt base is really nice in this one. It's be aware with this one, this is a more grainy West Coast IPA malt base, but it really works. And if you like the Albino Squid Assassin from Brewdog, this one I think is better than that. It's a very, very solid red rye IPA, this. So on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness there. As you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, that just smooths out a little bit. When you get towards the very front corners of your palate, you can feel there's a nice little bit of a slightly spicy floral aromaticity to the beer. Then round the very front curve of the palate, it's just a little bit more lighter and grassy. And of course behind the front curve of the tongue, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer. Yeah, and again, this one's really quite interesting actually. That oily bubble, you can pick up, I think there's a little tiny touch of mango in this one. If you just go to the very back of that oily bubble I was talking about, definitely a little bit of mango in there. When you come further forward on the front of the tongue, there is that kind of juicy, tangerine-y, orangey, mandarin-y kind of quality out of this one. It's quite difficult to place because the orange is quite well blended. Usually, and this is the interesting thing about these hops, Amarillo gives you a more oily orange. Mosaic gives you a little bit of a kind of juicier tangerine note. Azaka gives you a slightly sharper mandarin from what I always remember. I mean, you've got Mandarina Bavaria, which is another orange hop. You've got Pacifica from New Zealand as well. And I mean, there are other ones out there that give you orangey flavours as well. And I like it how with all these different hops you can get flavours that are quite similar. And all the hops have got different complexities to them as well. I think the further into the aftertaste you go, and in that part of your palate, there's a little touch of pineapple in there too. And I remember that being one of the complexities that you can get from Azaka in particular. First time I encountered Azaka was the founder's Azaka. That was the very first time I came across that hop, and I thought it was a really kind of interesting, quite juicy one actually. But yeah, the way that the kind of tropical fruit side of this beer goes together is really nice, like juicy mangoes at the back of the palate, maybe even a little tiny touch of grapefruit, which again is something you can sometimes get with Citra, particularly when you mix it with slightly darker malts. Mangoes in front of that, tangerine oranges, and then a little bit more pineapple towards the front of the palate. Some of the complexities of these hops are coming out really nicely. If you go onto the very tip of your tongue, I think there's a little touch of blueberry, and that's the Mosaic giving you that. And there is a little element of a kind of lychee flavour in there as well, which again is the Citra. So you are getting little bits and bobs of the things you'd normally expect from these hops, but on top of that, there's definitely a nice kind of red curranty berry sort of flavour to this one, and you can pick that up in the aroma straight away. Yeah, there's definitely a sort of how would you describe that? It's a kind of figgy kind of quality. There is definitely a sort of figgy quality to the beer, but it has a little bit of a kind of candied, strawberry, blackcurranty type thing to it, this beer. And the blueberry notes from the mosaic are really helping push that as well. Definitely sort of blackcurranty kind of strawberry notes out of this one. It's really interesting how this beer has that red fruity, that red kind of candied fruit quality to it. That's sitting just on the front of the tongue. The further you go into the aftertaste with this one, you can feel the sort of cereally, sort of rye notes just pushing their way out of the palate. There's a little bit of the sweetness sitting there in the middle of the tongue too, and some of the earthy and floral characters there. The tropical fruits just kind of subside a little bit, and you start to get more of the kind of red fruity notes in there as well, which is very, very nice. So I really like how all of this one is going together. This is a really nice example, as I said, of the red rye IPA, which is a little bit more of a kind of rare style to come across. But I will say these guys have done a really good job of this. And as I said at the start, if you try a kind of more specialised style, if you like, from this brewery, and it turns out this well, I'm very curious to try a more straight up West Coast IPA. So that's something I would love to see from them, and also, you know, a New England one, because those are the, you know, the two big types of IPAs. But in this beer, I have to say, you know, kudos to these guys. They've done a good job, and if they only started up brewing in like 2015, 2016, and their first bottled release is like this, you know, that's pretty damn good. So again, this is another brewery that I want to keep an eye on, and it just kind of goes to show you, I can pick up a random beer on Systembolaget, a brewery that I'd never heard of. That was why I picked it. You know, I picked it because of that, and it's turned out this good. That kind of speaks for the quality of the Swedish craft beer scene, I think, at the moment. So yeah, I hope I can try some more beers in the future, but as I say, 400 breweries in Sweden, it's very difficult to keep track of everything that's going on, but I do hope that I can return to this brewery at some point in the fairly near future. But yeah, a really interesting beer, this one, so give it a go for yourself and see what you think. So in terms of the mouthfeel of this beer then, mid-bodied, carbonation is quite smooth on this one. The mouthfeel definitely leans towards that nice oily quality that you expect from the West Coast IPAs. And yeah, it's got a nice little bit of hoppy bitterness, as I was saying. I think it's, you know, I would guess this one's maybe around the sort of I'm sure it was 60 IBUs, something like that. I think, was it 66.6 IBUs? It said, yeah, 66.6 they've calculated it to. I was forgetting that. I was thinking the 66, I had it in my head that was the percentage, because it's 6.6%. But yeah, you know, the 66 IBUs will give you a nice little bit of a kick to the beer. There's a balance between the sweetness and the more cereally qualities in the mouthfeel, which is what you would expect, particularly from a red rye IPA. And you've got a nice juicy fruitiness to this one. As I say, the fruits are quite complex in this beer, but that's one of the really interesting aspects of it. But yeah, quite a random style to come across in Sweden, I would say, especially from a brewery that is quite this young. But that sort of shows you how adventurous they are, and it's, I guess, if this is one of their first bottle releases into Systembolaget, it is quite an adventurous one to put out there. But you know, it stands them in good stead, in my opinion. You know, big thumbs up to Fireside Brewing for this one, and I really hope I can go and visit them at some point in the future. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. So this one was the Carry the Torch Obsession IPA from Fireside Brewing in Rälla on Öland here in Sweden. A lovely, lovely beer, this one. If you liked Brewdog Albino Squid Assassin, this is a beer that's comparable to that, and you know, it's a more specialised style, like I said, but have a go at it and just see what you think. I've been missing these West Coast IPAs, so I hope they release you know, a kind of more orthodox, if you like, a more traditional West Coast IPA, because I think on the basis of this, I think they would do that pretty damn nicely. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Fireside Brewing, and I'm really hoping that I can return to these guys in the fairly near future. Do give me some other Öland beer brewery recommendations. There might be quite a few over there that I've not heard of, and I'd love to review more of those for you on the channel. This is my first one from Öland as far as I can remember, but thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Make sure you check out my social media, but most importantly, make sure you try some of these beers from Fireside Brewing. I think this is a brewery that has a very good future. Until the next time, Slange just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Skål!